Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video, leave a comment, and let's get to it. So today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of teaching English. I've been teaching English professionally as the way I've made my living for the past 4 years. I'm recording this video, of course, in late April 2022, and I started teaching English in late 2018 in Tunisia, and I started in the classroom. And since then, I've taught in many different settings. For the past 2 years since Corona, I've been teaching online. And so I want to talk about the pros and cons of teaching English online. It's not a career that I plan to have. It's a career I more or less fell into, but I want to discuss some of the pros and cons and give you my opinions about it. So this is from a blog from this girl whose name presumably is Brit. It says, "Hi, I'm Brit, an English teacher turned travel writer. I help others teach English abroad, travel solo, and achieve their travel goals on a budget. Welcome to Life of Brit." And this is her blog. This was updated on March 5th, 2022 by Brit, and is titled 16 Important Pros and Cons of Teaching English Online. So let's get to it and let's read. So there's good and bad to everything, and working as an online English teacher is no exception. Read on for an ultimate list for the pros and cons of teaching English online. When I started teaching English with Palfish in 2019, I was super excited about the prospect of making money online. I had just finished my contract teaching in Korea and was ready to hit the road and start a new adventure. And while I found teaching English online to be an excellent way to supplement my income, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So now that it's been a bit since I jumped aboard the online teaching wagon, I thought I'd share my honest thoughts on working as an online English teacher. So she started in 2019. Yeah, I started in 2018. So yeah, we've been in this roughly the same amount of time. So let's see if she's had the same experience as I have. She obviously started in Asia. I started my teaching career in Africa, in North Africa. So there's going to be a big difference in probably the pay, I assume, and also the type of environment she was working in. So here are my personal pros and cons of teaching English online, as well as some helpful tidbits to help you start your journey. This is an advertisement here, but it seems like she was working in China, right? So what is online English teaching? Teaching English online is an excellent job opportunity that connects English speakers with students seeking to learn English. It's grown in popularity over the past few years, and there's still a seemingly never-ending high demand for teachers. This is true. This is why I think this career is good for people who are looking for some direction in life and also adventure. The demand for English teachers seems to be exponentially high. I mean, in almost any non-English speaking country, you're almost guaranteed to find a job if you're a native speaker and you're relatively well put together, well mannered, have good pronunciation, good enunciation, and that sort of thing. This is a great career for people who are just looking to make some, not easy money, because it's not easy what we do, but who want to travel and have an adventure and make money on the road. All right. Teachers work from home or remotely as independent contractors and typically need only a stable Wi-Fi connection, which is actually harder to find than you believe. If you're dependent on the internet for, let's say, 6 or 7 hours of the day, it's actually kind of hard to find sometimes. I'm recording this video in Turkey right now, and I've had quite a few situations and problems with the internet or electricity cutting off. A phone or computer, and headphones with a microphone to get started. Lessons are usually conducted in half-hour increments, but some programs have longer classes and taught one-to-one or in small grouping of students no more than 3 or 4. So, who are the students? As an online English teacher, the highest demand lies with teaching young students in Asia, predominantly in Japan and Korea. Pause right here. Me personally, I've made the decision in my teaching career to stay away from Asia. Okay, I am always going to just teach at non-Asians, not to be racist or bigoted or prejudiced, but it's just the structure that they have in these Asian schools is very, very, very strict. The pay is much higher. I can admit that. I had a job with a school teaching Indonesians and a job teaching Taiwanese students, and the pay was ridiculous. It was great, but the strict structure that they want you to follow is just something that I cannot get with. It's not fun for me, and I don't like the way that they want teachers to act. They want them to be smiling all the time. They want them to be waving their hands, acting like cartoon characters, and it's not for me. I prefer teaching adults, business English classes, courses where we can discuss topics rather than grammar. And that's more interesting and fun for me, and that's why I enjoy my job. And also, these Asian schools are extremely racist, and I know this for a fact because in a lot of the Chinese schools, they have recruiters that come to you. And when they see on your profile that you're black, they do not want you in these Asian schools. And every recruiter for these ESL schools in Asia knows this as a fact. I have a friend who's a recruiter, and he's told me explicitly that this is what they do. I've had other recruiters tell me on the phone, on the FaceTime, in the interview, that it's going to be hard to find you a job or harder to find you a job because you're black and you're an English teacher. So these Asian companies are extremely, extremely racist when it comes to their teachers, and that's why I don't want to support them or give them my time. And no amount of money can make me go through that amount of degradation. I will continue. So, it's worth noting that recent changes in China have drastically changed the online tutoring English industry. China once held a massive corner of the market and was where native speakers could find the best and most online job opportunities. However, as of July 2021, new laws in China have banned the employment of foreign-based teachers in its education industry. And this is why I'm so glad I stayed away from China. You know, there's so much more money in the world than in China, where they're going to treat you bad, uh, have these insane regulations, and also you're living in an authoritarian country. China was never attractive to me as a place to go and work as an English teacher. It's too restrictive. Many China-based online teaching platforms still have their websites and application portals open, but I urge you to skip them for others, as it seems these pages are actually abandoned and not hiring at all. That's good advice. I've compiled updated lists of the best companies to teach English outside of China here. So many other places are opening up, and let's continue. So, what are the English teaching job requirements? Every teaching platform has their own set of requirements, but in general, to be hired as an English teacher, you'll need to be a native English speaker or proof of native level ability, citizen of specific countries like US, UK, Canada, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, and South Africa for some companies. Pause right here. As you can see, these countries are explicitly racist, because how are you going to not ask for Jamaicans or Kenyans or Belizeans or Bahamians or Ugandans or any of the English speaking countries such as India, where there's millions of people who speak English there. They are only specifically looking for white people to teach English, because I need to make a separate video about this, about how I'm sometimes conflicted about my role as an English teacher, because sometimes I feel like I'm supporting American hegemony or Anglophone hegemony, and supporting white supremacy, because English is, of course, a very European language, and here I am making money teaching it and using the language of it to fight against white supremacy. But as we can see, and as we know, and as I've experienced, what they're looking for in English teachers is generally the person that doesn't look like me. Luckily, though, I'm extremely talented, smart, and handsome, and that allows me to get these jobs as an English teacher. Anyway, they also want you to have a college degree and a reputable Tefl certificate. Here's a note, though. A Tefl is a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything. A Tefl is just anybody can create a Tefl course and sell it to you, and then you can put it on your CV. There is no international body that verifies Tefls. They're just pieces of paper. Literally, they mean nothing, right? I have a Tefl, and I only got it just as just to make myself feel better when I'm applying for jobs. Because honestly, at that point, when I got my Tefl, I was already working and making money, and I didn't need anything other than my mouthpiece, right? It also helps, by the way, that I was very good at English in school, and it was one of my favorite subjects in school. So if you're a person who maybe studied English in university, or it was one of your favorite subjects in school, or you were always good at language, this job as an English teacher is also good for you. The only certified document or qualification to teach English, I would say, is the CELTA. And if you get the CELTA, which is CELTA, if you get this document, that's the gold standard when it comes to teaching English. Other than that, I think all Tefl courses are BS, but it's still sometimes mandatory to have one. All right, so not all platforms make these requirements mandatory, except a Tefl certificate is always a requirement. A Tefl is the most important thing all aspiring English teachers need in order to secure an ESL job online or abroad, and of course, passing the interview. But the other requirements are a little more flexible. If you don't have a degree, don't fret. There are many companies that hire English teachers without degrees. Palfish is a great example. If you're a non-native English speaker seeking a job, it can be a little tricky, but some places do hire non-native English teachers. I have a conspiracy theory about the TEFL. I think a long time ago, there was an ESL school that was thinking, how can we make more money? I know, let's make sure that anybody we hire also has to have this certain qualification. And then we'll set up a separate academy to teach this qualification. And maybe it was just a Ponzi scheme or, some trick. Yeah. In my honest opinion, I think that any native speaker can do this job if they are proficient in the language, because not everybody who speaks English speaks it proficiently. And I've noticed many mistakes that I used to make before I started teaching, and I've corrected those when it comes to my speech. Um, and for non-native speakers, I highly suggest you take a test like the TOEFL or the what's the I forgot the English one, the IELTS. Yes, you take the TOEFL or the IELTS, get these certified scores, and if you have a very high score, it would really help you get a job. So take the TOEFL or the IELTS if you're a non-native speaker and you want to become an English teacher. Also getting a TEFL and a CELTA too. All right, so how and where to get a TEFL certificate? All right, a TEFL certificate is an essential qualification teachers need to get hired as an online English teacher. You should aim for at least a 120-hour TEFL certificate, which is the common industry standard for training. Most certificates can be completed online on your own time in 1 to 3 months and can cost anywhere from $200 to $2,500. Don't do this, please. Please don't do this. If that sounds pricey, there are options out there for a free TEFL certificate or sponsorship. Please, please do this. Anyway, be warned, free TEFLs are few and far between and not a viable option for all. My go-to recommendation for aspiring teachers is the International TEFL Academy. The International TEFL Academy is a higher-end provider that's consistently touted as the #1 TEFL in the industry, but they are pricey. #1 TEFL in the industry of just paper mills. I mean, these people are literally printing diplomas. TEFLs are all BS. I'm saying this, TEFLs are all BS. The only certified way to teach English as to get to make sure somebody is qualified to teach English is to give them some time in the classroom to actually teach if they're a native speaker, and they can accustom themselves with the material that's put out in front of them. Because generally, any native speaker can look at an ESL teaching book and know what to do if they just follow the rules and instructions inside. Also, if you're a certified English teacher, like you studied English in university and you got a teaching degree, that's it, and also the CELTA. But these TEFLs are all BS. They're all BS. I hope someone does a documentary one day about the TEFL industry and how it's just all BS, man. They're all paper mills in Asia, just collecting donations across the world. I should open up a TEFL school and make some money. Anyway, that's why I also recommend the TEFL course at ITTT, because they're super reasonably priced, accredited, trustworthy, and convenient for those looking for a budget-friendly TEFL. I think I got that one, honestly. I don't know. I haven't looked at my TEFL document in a while. All right, so an ultimate list of the pros and cons of teaching English online. Here's a breakdown of the advantages and disadvantages of teaching English online. So, advantages of teaching English online. Let's start with the good. Here are some of the perks of teaching English online that I've come to enjoy and appreciate. This is what makes it all worth it. Number one, enjoy the freedom to make your own schedule. One of the best aspects of this gig is that you get to set your own schedule. Some companies may ask for a minimum amount of work hours each week or month, but ultimately you're free to pick the days and times that work for you, pardon. Classes are typically only 25 to 30 minutes, making for a fast-paced and interesting day with many different students. So this is probably one of my favorite things about teaching English online is the fact I get to make my own schedule. I do work pretty late hours because the majority of my students are in South America. My students primarily are in Peru and Chile, and I also have some other students in Eastern Europe and different places, but my hours are mostly there. So I get to work late, but I also get to sleep late. And then there are some days when I have like hours upon hours free to play my guitar, walk outside, travel, do different things. So that's the best thing. My classes typically are an hour long or an hour and a half long, and I typically work, I would say, at least 6 or 7 hours per day, and that's fine for me, you know. And I make generally decent money for living abroad, but we'll talk more about money later. But the freedom and the schedule is a great thing for me. So you can earn a decent income of $16 to $25 an hour. So the best teaching platforms pay teachers up to $25 per hour. That ain't too shabby for posting up in front of a computer screen and chatting with students. It's worth noting that the pay structure for teaching online is a bit weird. Teachers usually make a base hourly rate and then earn little bonuses based on your attendance, how often you teach, and how well you sell your courses to students. So this rate can vary wildly, thus the $16 to $25 range. All right, so I'll be 100% honest with you guys. I make roughly, I would say, $1,500 per month, you know, in a decent month if I'm working full time doing what I have to do. I do not make, obviously, $16 to $25 per hour in that range because if I did, I would make much more. I want to say that if you're teaching in these Asian schools where they have all these strict requirements and also they want you to be white, of course you're going to make this amount of money. But you're also going to be working, you know, long hours, very long hours, back to back classes, and you're also going to be following very strict guidelines, acting like a cartoon character all day, that sort of thing. It's not for me. I've done that before. I could make that money if I wanted to. I would have to work harder just to get the job and get my foot in the door. But it's not fun. It's not fun. Everybody who I talk to, oh, and I know some other English teachers, every English teacher that I talk to who's teaching for Chinese students or other things, man, they are not happy people. I'm generally happy. I feel great talking to my students most of the time. I feel great going into class. I never fret. I never have to be super uptight. You know, it's great, man. I love my job, and the money is not worth it. You know, and generally, as a single man with no kids, the amount of money I make while living in countries like Turkey, Serbia, Tunisia, Indonesia, it works out. It works out. You know, $1,000 a month plus change is more than enough to get by in a lot of countries around the world. You know. All right, so there are also referral bonus opportunities. As mentioned above, another job perk is that teachers can earn referral bonuses each time they successfully recruit a new teacher or student to the program. At Powfish, for example, teachers make about $40 for every new teacher that uses their referral link who passes the interview, and $30 for every new student. If you're great at selling, this can add up quickly to a nice chunk of change each month. Referral, you know, I haven't, in my companies, we don't have referral opportunities as far as I know. Not really looking to refer my friends because generally I don't have that. Oh, this sounds so sad. I don't have that many friends. I'm just solo. I just be outside solo by myself or with my girl. So anyway, referral bonuses, I guess that's a plus. I have no experience with that. All right, teach from home or on the road. Teaching English online affords a lot of flexibility to teachers. It's an excellent opportunity for aspiring digital nomads looking to get some footing in the world of earning money online. It's also perfect for those who wish to stay home with kids or need to stay home for other reasons. So, this is a big deal for me too. I never thought I would travel and see so many parts of the world like I do and like I have because of teaching English online. I hope to one day branch out into bigger things, and this is why I hope my YouTube channel takes off and I find some content that generates buzz and I can start to monetize here or in another platform in another way. But I imagine myself always teaching English to some capacity for the next decade or so, maybe more, because I love this job. It's really fun for me. I feel like it fits me like a glove on a hand, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And I really feel like I'm helping the world too when I talk to people and help them achieve their English goals. So, teaching English online can be a great way to fund backpacking adventures abroad. Yes, it can. Absolutely. So you don't need much to get started. Teaching often requires an immense amount of costly resources. However, as an online teacher, you don't need a classroom full of toys or technology to teach. You just need a stable Wi Fi connection, a smartphone or computer, and headphones with a mic. A quiet place to teach is also a must, and it's a bonus if you can put up an appealing background for your students. Think world map and your name and clip art. That's good advice. I should take that. I would like to put up the world map behind me. That would be really cool. That would actually that's good advice. I like that. But yeah, it's yeah, in this case, teaching English is one of the few areas of teaching generally where you can do this with just your mouthpiece. You don't really need a lot of extra material. Now, I know in some of these Asian schools, they want you to have toys, gimmicks, props, pull out a puppet, all this sort of stuff. When I'm teaching my business English class or conversation English class or like sociological ESL English class, I guess, because we talk about topics like euthanasia, legalizing marijuana, and stuff like that. I don't know. When we have our classes and our discussions, they're more about topics, and we don't need to pull out props. But with some of these schools teaching kids in Asia, yes, you do. So that's something to consider. All right. Teachers aren't usually responsible for lesson planning. What I loved most about being an ESL teacher is that I don't have to do any lesson planning. None. Most companies will plan and provide lesson material and slides for you before every class. For the company, this ensures they maintain the same standards for all students across all teachers. For the teachers, this means you never have to give your teaching a second thought outside of your actual scheduled teaching hours. No extra work. This is a big plus. I love this so much about ESL teaching. Confession, honest confession time. Sometimes I'm literally, I wake up and then 5 minutes later I'm in class. It's no prep time really, because all we have to do is talk, follow the sheet, generally follow the same material, and it's so easy to get prepared to do it, and that's a great thing about teaching English so much. All right, so no teaching experience required. If you've been wondering how to teach English online as someone without any experience, it's not a problem. Most platforms don't require any teaching experience, prioritizing your native English speaking ability and Tefl certificate. But if you have any experience working with kids, it can help you be more competitive on your application and attract new students. Absolutely true. I started my teaching career in Tunisia, and I applied for this, middle school academy, a private school. Uh, Literally got the job, the day after the interview, and they literally pushed me in the classroom and said, "All right, get to work, get to it." I also started by at this other school in Tunisia where we were having conversational business English classes with these people, and there were no books around. And they said, "Okay, here are your students. Go talk to these people." And they just pushed me into these situations, and that's how I began. And I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I didn't know much about English, like the official grammar and teaching it and explaining the rules and that sort of thing. But I've learned a lot over time, especially over these past 4 years I've been at it, and I hope to continue to learn more about myself and also the English language. And I've had a new appreciation for the English language. And I've also learned to understand what it's the struggles of people who want to learn English as a second language. So it's fun and easy. If you enjoy working with kids, it's genuinely such an easy and fun job. You just sit in front of a screen, teach how to say the target phrases and words already provided for you, and fill out a little performance evaluation after class. Just remember that kids are kids and they're not perfect angels all the time. Yeah, playing with sheets like this, I could not do this all day. I could not. I would go insane. I would go insane. An example of a teaching slide from Palfish. So, disadvantages of teaching English online. As many positives as there are also quite a few cons or challenges of teaching English online that every curious teacher should be aware of. Many companies require a college degree and a Tefl. The highest paying companies require a college degree, usually a bachelor's. But as I mentioned above, if you don't have a degree, it's not impossible to find opportunities. There are just fewer options, unfortunately. Another key requirement that's pretty standard across the board is a Tefl certificate, which tends to be more important than a college degree. Luckily, there are many options for a cheap Tefl certificate for those short on money, and it's possible to find an all online course that can fit into busy schedules and be completed on your own time. So, yeah, not having a college degree will kind of hurt a bit when finding an English teaching job. For anybody who doesn't have a college degree, uh, I would highly suggest looking into Africa. In Africa, you can find places that will hire you as an English teacher. You can cut your teeth there. Look, especially in North Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, maybe Egypt, but Egypt is a bit weird, maybe in sub Saharan Africa, also maybe in Latin America as well. And just continue trying. Like, I'm going to talk later about the best website that I know of to get English teaching jobs, you know. And yeah, getting a TEFL or getting a CELTA maybe. Maybe if you don't have a college degree, get a CELTA. And that would really, really help because everybody recognizes the CELTA as the gold standard. And so not having a college degree can be compensated for by getting the CELTA. All right. So number 10, it can be difficult to go full time. If you have aspirations to replace a full-time income with teaching English online, it can be really challenging. It takes a lot of elbow grease to market yourself to attract regular students and hustling to refer other teachers and students. Many bloggers online love announcing that they make upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 a month teaching online, and they're honestly the exception, not the rule. Not saying it's impossible, just saying it takes time and a lot of hard work to get to that level. I personally have never made more than $500 a month teaching online, but I've always used it just as a way to earn an additional income part time. So, yeah, I would say, okay, going full time, I would say is not the problem. If you're looking to work, I would say 7 hours to 8 hours a day, yeah, you can do that pretty easily teaching English online. Like I said earlier, it's the money part that's hard because teaching English online gives you so much freedom, flexibility, and opportunities for your personal life, but for your financial life, it's very draining. It's dire. It's a dire situation. We're poor teachers. We're poor English teachers. Um, $3,000 a month teaching online. The only way that I can imagine doing that is if you're, teaching for a very, very high level school at an extremely high level. Maybe you're a certified teacher in the U.S. and maybe you're working for one of those companies in Dubai or something, or the elite level. Um, yeah, I would say the average online English teacher makes around my range, like I said earlier. Um, when it comes to the time, yeah, you can get a full-time job. That's not the hard part. It's just the money part. So, finding students takes time. This brings me to the next point. Finding regular students takes time. You don't start and immediately have a full schedule of bookings. That's true. You get students and bookings by marketing yourself on the platform via post or live lessons, networking and connecting with students and other teachers, and nailing trial lessons with prospective students. Trials are free lessons for students that aren't paying customers yet, but considering the service. Don't worry, you get paid. So, um, I do have independent students, right? I've had I have students that are referrals to me that come from word of mouth, and I also have people who followed me after I left a company, right? And those people are, a very, very small portion of my monthly income, right? The majority of my monthly income comes from the students that I get from the schools or the language academies that I work with. And in that case, pardon, all right, and in that case, these students, yeah, they come from the academy. I volunteer or I say that I can take that class when they give me the details of the students and the hours, and then I slowly and steadily build my schedule, right? I can remember when I first started online teaching, yes, I only had one student that week, and then the next week, two students and three students, and then eventually my schedule was filled up, and then it kept going on. So, yeah, the first 1 or 2 weeks, you might be a bit slow, but it picks up very quickly if you're doing your job and you're hungry and you keep saying that you want to take in more students or you have time on your schedule. And if somebody wants to do English teaching as a side job, I highly suggest it. I think, if you have 2 or 3 hours in the morning or in the afternoon free, you can pick up a few extra classes here. And then by the end of the month, you have around, close to $1,000 extra if it's a side hustle. So time differences can make teaching online difficult. This is an essential consideration for those with hopes to go full time because most online teaching caters to students in Asia. The time difference can be an impediment, especially if you live in North America. Teachers need to be available on their students' desired time. So, currently I'm filming this in Istanbul. I believe we're GMT 3 plus 3, right? And my students are in, like I said, South America. So they're about 7 or 8 hours behind me. So, usually my day starts around 7 a.m. their time, right? And that's around 3 p.m. my time. And that's great if you want to sleep in late. But remember, sometimes the day for them ends at 6 or 7 p.m. and they want to have English class after they're done with work. And in my time, that's what, 3 a.m. So time differences, fighting the rest, drinking a lot of coffee, smoking a lot of cigarettes to stay awake. That's a big part of the English teaching career. So peak teaching hours in Asia are after school hours and all day on the weekends, or about 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Beijing time, and 9 a.m., 9 p.m., 9 a.m., 9 p.m. Beijing time. These times translate to super early morning hours in the States, around 2 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time weekdays, 7 p.m., 7 a.m. Central Time weekends, and afternoons in Europe. So the lesson materials can be boring. As much as not having to plan lessons as a pro, that does mean that you don't have any control over what you're teaching. Many find that the lesson materials for online teaching can become quite dull and repetitive over time, especially teaching trial lessons. I've also found that lesson objectives are sometimes awkward in what they want taught and how. You'll definitely find yourself questioning why they're teaching students the things they teach at some point in time. It is what it is. So yeah, the lesson material for me has not been boring because, like I said, in my English class, we're talking more about interesting topics like UFOs, monarchies, tsunamis, earthquakes, right? Karl Marx, anything. We talk about anything in my English class. And we also cover grammar a little bit, and we also do some writing, but it's mostly a speaking conversation class. But if you're teaching, once again, if you're teaching these Asian kids or if you're working for one of these schools, yeah, the material might be boring and repetitive because you're just teaching yellow fish, red brick. Like, no, it's not for me. So, all right, you don't receive any benefits. When you teach online, you're regarded as an independent contractor. That means no benefits like insurance, and that also means you're solely responsible for setting aside the appropriate amount of taxes and paying it all back at the end of the year. If you're American, depending on how much you earn, you may also be required to pay estimated quarterly taxes. It's also worth mentioning that teachers often have to complete small training videos or unpaid tasks. At Palfish, you're instead rewarded with points that may or may not bump you up to a higher base pay level for the next month, and that's it. There's also no job protection, and your employment is entirely at the will of the company. So, companies see you predominantly as a salesperson and an entertainer. Online ESL teachers are not traditional teachers. You're more of an educational entertainer trying to keep students and sometimes parents happy. You're also a salesperson for the company, one who's always trying to convince students to pay for services and striving to recruit teachers. These companies also don't always appreciate their teachers in the way that they should because there are many seeking a job teaching online. That means vacancies are easy to fill when a teacher leaves. I've noticed over 2 years teaching online, they've slowly taken away perks, and I think it's because they know they will always be able to find new teachers. So I think that's a big deal too, because our job is so, I would say, accessible for many teachers, native speakers. Teachers can be easily replaced, but I would disagree a bit because it's hard. Not many people from America, if they're offered the job to go to Vietnam and teach for 2 years for $7 an hour, are going to take it. Not many people. There's a good amount that will, but not many people are looking for those opportunities, are willing to take that risk, and there are also other places where they get paid more to do that same job. So there's a lot of competition when it comes to filling vacancies. And I would also say that when it comes to being an entertainer or being a person who's not a traditional educator, I would say yes and no. The primary thing that the company owner of an ESL Academy wants to hear is that students are happy. That's all they want. They don't want to hear that students are learning. They don't really want to hear that students are getting better at speaking English. Every time that I've had an evaluation done on me, it's been always like, are students happy? Are students, enjoying class? And the only criticisms have only been students feel bored or students feel, like you're being impatient or something like that, right? But other things like, checking students' progress and that sort of thing, that's almost never a concern. All right. Um, yeah, I think our job is special in many ways, but we can also be replaced. But I also think we have some special skills, because an ESL teacher has to have good enunciation, pronunciation, be patient, has to think a certain way, has to understand what it feels like to want to learn another language. You know what I mean? And also has to have a large amount of empathy. And not many people have those skills. Not many people are patient. When I ask a lot of my students, hey, would you ever teach Russian? Would you ever teach Spanish? A lot of these people say, no, I couldn't do it. No, I couldn't do it. So I know what we do is special in a way because a lot of people just don't have the patience to sit with somebody for hours and hours on end as they fumble through your language. You know what I mean? So let's go to 16. It can get repetitive and there's a high turnover of students. As mentioned above, teaching online is not a traditional teaching role. You don't always have a group of regular students, which means you don't get a chance to develop a good relationship with anyone or see them continuously progress. However, with time, you'll start attracting regulars, but it doesn't compare to having a classroom full of the same students for an entire year. At one point, as I did have 5 regulars I'd see each week, which was nice. Otherwise, they were trials or random bookings. So, once again, to random students or to regular students that are personal to you, in my opinion, I don't think you can really build a career off of that. That would be very, very hard. And in that case, if you're going to try to attract your own students, you might as well open your own company, honestly. I don't see a point in trying to build your career or base or salary on just independent people that you meet online who are fickle. They could be here today and gone tomorrow. It's better just to have a company that you work with whose job it is to attract students, and then you're the teacher and you're just trying to collect what you want. But if you want to try to do that and attract your own students, you might as well open your own company, get your own teachers, and just do the same thing. Anyway, this is an example of what it would look like to teach online for Asian students, a fellow online teacher with Dada ABC, another top English platform. All right. Is teaching online worth it? I'd be lying if I said that all days are great days. It can be hard to find the energy to be constantly cheerful, and it can be a challenge keeping kids focused when trying to teach them a new language through a screen. But when I consider the advantages and disadvantages of teaching English online, I'd say it's totally worth it in my personal experience. It provided me with the supplemental income I needed when I was in a tough spot trying to get my freelance writing off the ground. But it's helpful setting expectations that this job isn't a normal teaching gig. And it's truly a super easy way to earn money online and even contribute to your travel savings if you're using it to make pocket money. All right. So I'll end with this. I think online English teaching is a great job. I think it's a great opportunity for anybody. And I should have mentioned, pardon. Let's go back to the to this very quickly. All right. Pardon. All right. So let's look here. I want to say that there's this great website, Learn for Good. That's the best way, in my opinion, to get an online English job. So if anybody's watching this video this far, you obviously are either an ESL teacher, interested in ESL teaching, or you just think I'm so handsome. Um, Go to Learn for Good if you're looking to get a job. There are so many jobs here from all over the world. The 2 jobs I have now I got from this site. I also got a job teaching at a camp in Germany on this site. There are so many great opportunities here from every country in the world. Just keep applying and something will land on your desk, okay? Now, let's get back to my finishing statement. So if you're looking to become an ESL teacher, I highly suggest it. I highly suggest it for young African Americans, African American men who are just looking to travel, see the world, and that sort of thing. It's also something that I'm conflicted with sometimes about my future when it comes to the small amount of money that ESL teachers make. It's not enough to retire on. So you have to find a way and to use this opportunity to open more opportunities for you in the future. And that's what I'm in the process of doing. Because honestly, as an ESL teacher, you couldn't live in America with this salary, right? But you could have a great life in many other countries in the world. With the amount of money that an ESL teacher makes, you could live comfortably in Turkey, many parts of Eastern Europe, many parts of Africa, many parts of Asia, many parts of Latin America with this amount of salary. But the only problem is you're probably not going to be living in a country that speaks English as their first language. You're probably going to have to learn another language, probably going to have to settle for lower living standards, that sort of thing. But the opportunities are so vast and so great, and being a digital nomad is so unique that I highly suggest anybody take that opportunity for 1 year or 2 years at least, you know? And that's where I'll end it. So ESL teaching has changed my life. I love my job. I love my career. Highly suggest you look into it if this is what you want to do. Thanks for watching my channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video, leave a comment. Peace in the truest sense.